Today's video, we're going to talk about how a low daily budget affects your impressions on Google Ads. Yes, it does affect your impressions and clicks and sales and leads that you're going to get from your ad campaigns running on Google, specifically because Google's system is run off of an algorithm and they don't take certain things seriously if it doesn't pet or stroke the algorithm in the right way. Google nowadays evaluates your persona or your company as an advertiser warranted to have all the impressions that you want to have. They look at things like such as your ad click-through rates, your conversion rates of your clicks that you're getting, your reviews that you're getting on Google Reviews or Google Maps, your payment history. Has your card been declined? Do you shut your ads off for periods of time? And then also with that, what does it look like you're willing to spend? Are you a big spender? They're trying to peg you as to whether you're a big spender or not. Part of the way that they do this is through the daily budget you have set on your campaigns. So with that said, I'm going to talk a bit more about this specific topic at hand here, and then how you specifically tease out all the extra hidden impressions that you're not getting with your campaigns that you could get if you just raise the daily budget on your campaign, and then how to do it so you end up not overspending, not getting the results that you want on the additional clicks. That is, your ROI goes down the toilet while you do it. So I'll go over all the details on this, what the method is. I'll also have a case study video where I'll talk about the results we got with a restoration services company and what you actually stand to gain out of this yourself. So with that said though, before I get into the content, if you did not know who I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we do not charge our clients management fees until we get them a certain minimum lift in the profitability of their ads up front in excess of the management fee. We are the only agency out there doing anything like this, which should tell you something about the quality of the information I'm sharing on today's video. So with that said, getting into the content. If you hit a plateau with your results on Google Ads, especially when you are in markets with high cost per click, set the daily budget on your campaigns ridiculously high. I mean like 10 times higher than what it is already to unlimit or uncap that particular campaign or campaigns that you're running, okay? For reasons that you're going to train the algorithm that, hey, you're here to spend real money. And you're going to prove it to them by saying you're willing to spend more, not say, oh, if you get me sales, I'll spend more, because their algorithm doesn't know that, they don't see that, they don't understand it, whatever. What they do understand is you walking up to the plate and say, I'm a heavy hitter, I'm willing to spend big time money here, and if you are willing to give me the clicks, I'll buy an unlimited amount. And part of the way you do that, of course, main way that you do that, of course, is by raising the daily budget on your campaigns. In general, that sounds simple. A lot of people don't want to do it because they say, my budget is $30 a day and that's all I could spend. That's all my company can afford. And then they set their campaign going like that, even though they would still like to spend $40 a day if their profit would go up correspondingly 25% to go along with it. But, and certainly they say, maybe I'd like to spend 40, but I don't want to spend 100 right away. And so they don't have their campaign set up much higher than what they would want to spend. So the algorithm is actually pushed to keep trying to give you more impressions, because ultimately nowadays with ad rank, Google is going to score your ability as an advertiser to deliver a good experience to their users. They're only going to give you so many impressions out of the available allotment of impressions that are out there to get. So, and it doesn't matter if you're running display campaigns, YouTube, search campaigns, it's all the same thing. If you're targeting red shoes as a keyword, you do not get all the available impressions and or get in front of every single person bidding on that term that searches for red shoes automatically. You have to earn your ability to get shown every single time. And a lot of the times you don't want to get shown every time because part of the people searching for red shoes aren't your customers anyway. But for every person that would be a would-be customer, you're not going to get shown every time until you've earned a high ad rank from your account. And even though your account says you got 100% impression share or 90, the reality is that only shows you what you're eligible to get at the time. So literally speaking, there could be 1,000 people searching a month for red shoes. You're bidding on that term. It says you have 90% impression share and you only got 300 of those impressions because you weren't eligible for the other 700 that you're not showing up for right now. That impression share only shows you the percentage of the time you're getting shown for the amount of impressions that you're eligible to receive at the time given your current ad rank, okay? Google's done all this to optimize how much money they can make. They have realized that simply selling their ad space to the highest bidder is not going to be the way to make the most money, because if they do that, people are going to stop clicking on ads because they see ads, and they're going to just stop, just paying attention to the ad space in general, shooting themselves in the foot. So more so today as to how many impressions you get and sales you get is predicated on your ad rank, meaning what Google views you as an advertiser and how good you are at delivering a good experience to their users. And like I said, there's a lot of different factors involved in that. What you don't want to do is limit yourself with the part of the algorithm that determines your ad rank and your seriousness as an advertiser by having your daily budget low, or even just set exactly at how much you ought to want to spend right now, even though long term you want to scale your account. With this said, don't do this if you have search partners turned on. If you set your budget to $1,000 a day from $30 a day to totally unlimit your campaign and you have search partners on, it'll spend $1,000 a day, all right? It'll just spend it all pretty much on search partners traffic, which is ads that run outside Google search. And you can shut that off in the campaign settings under networks. So that's just want to state the obvious there before you do this and you come back here and almost want to choke me because I didn't give you that extra piece of information. Beyond that, if you have a lot of campaigns, this can be very scary to lift the daily budget on your campaigns from $30 a day to $1,000 a day, because what it does, and I've heard this countless times from our clients at our firm, Corey, it says the daily budget on our entire account cumulatively is $10,000 a day. We don't have $10,000 a day to spend. And I have to explain what I'm explaining to you on this video, that you have to set the daily budget higher than what you want to spend, and you have to do it on every campaign in order to really push the account to spend more and get more sales, and constantly, get you shown in places you weren't shown before that you would like to get shown but aren't getting shown because you don't have enough reputation with Google yet. And like I said, it really does mean on a campaign basis. So even though you're spending, let's say $300 a day with your whole account, bottom of your campaign screen, it says between all your campaigns, you should be able to spend $1,000 a day, or that's what your campaigns are set to spend in terms of the daily budget per campaign added up. That's not good enough. You need to have a high daily budget way above that campaign should spend on each campaign if you really want to push the algorithm to run your ads more. A lot of people want to make money with Google Ads, but they don't want to understand how the system works. You have to either study these videos on this channel where I talk about ad rank and how the system's run off an algorithm now, and it's in operation. It's not simple anymore, and you have to study it and learn this stuff for yourself if you're not going to pull your hair out trying to make millions of dollars for yourself on Google Ads. Or you got to hire somebody who knows what they're doing, not pretends or seems like they know what they're doing, and you believe it because you want to believe it because they're charging $500 a month, and you want to believe it's cheap to do that, to hire somebody to do it for that. Everybody wants that. The reality is people don't want to pay a few grand a month for a real expert, and then they get scammed multiple times over, hiring one firm and then another and then another and then another, and they don't realize what's going on or what they're doing wrong, when really nobody who knows anything is charging that kind of money. So if you have more money than time, you hire somebody. So you don't have to spend the dozens of hours it's going to take for you to understand how the algorithm and how Google Ads works and how the algorithm that drives Google Ads works. If you want to know how to do it yourself without paying anybody, or you don't like agencies, then you subscribe to this channel, because I got all that information for you on this channel. It's better information you're going to find anywhere else on YouTube or online about how the system actually works and how to please the algorithm to give you the results that you're looking for. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel already, you should. I also have a fantastic blog on my site that goes over the same kind of things at guaranteedppc.com/blog. You can find the strategies we're using to guarantee results for our clients there, and on a step-by-step basis with the screenshots, with everything you need to use them. You should definitely check that out as well. And then of course, if you ever have a one-off question, you can always leave me a comment in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you within usually 24 hours. So getting back to what I was saying here, now everything I mentioned about raising the daily budget works, okay? You're not going to get any result out of it. Likely you're going to get more results. That is, if you have a fairly new set of campaign/account. Because once a campaign's been running, let's say 5 years already, and you raise the daily budget on the campaigns, it's probably not going to do anything because the algorithm has had enough time by then to really get to learn inside and out your campaigns, how they work, how your account does as a whole. And it's not really holding anything back anymore, which is why raising the daily budget actually works to get you more impressions. Okay, so if you have a new campaign, let's say, especially that's been running less than a year, you probably will do yourself a huge favor raising the daily budget on your campaign well in excess of what you really wanted to spend or what it is spending at the time. You'll often get about 50% more clicks when you do this, particularly in higher cost per click markets. So we're talking, when I say high, I mean markets where you're in $10 a click or more. markets. And the reason for that is because, naturally in a campaign where you have it set at $30 a day and the cost per click on average is $10, there's only 3 clicks per day that campaign can get. So the algorithm a lot of times is going to get confused, and it's going to hold off on having your ad show in an effort to not have you go over budget. Naturally, Google even says that the way that their system works with the daily budget system is that it's not set to get a certain budget per day and drill it into that for you. So if you have your daily budget set at 30 a day, 30 a day times 30 is 1,000 a month, basically, roughly. What it's set up to do is average out your spend for that particular campaign to 1,000 a month as a whole. And day to day and week to week, it could go up and down. And they do this because, the search volume changes a lot day to day and week to week. Performance-wise, that's the only thing that makes sense. They're going to limit your campaign if they so they're going to average out the amount that you're spending over the course of a month to that. However, if it sees that you can only get 3 clicks per day per campaign versus 30, it's more apt to limit that campaign in an effort to make sure, even though it realizes it can go over budget a few days and then come back, to not go over budget still. There's going to be a part of the algorithm that's going to be cautious towards your campaign as to not overspend. Whereas if you put it to $1,000 a day and you have a cost per click of $10 a day, therefore the campaign can get up to 100 clicks a day, and you've only been getting 3, 4, 5 clicks a day, no part of the algorithm that's there to make sure you don't go over budget is going to be there anymore. It's just going to, unlimit everything, which is why you specifically do it. And this is true even when your campaigns aren't showing under the campaign status menu, quote unquote, limited by budget. Okay, limited by budget, if you do not know what this is where Google is telling you could spend more money on that campaign and get more impressions at a similar ROI or cost per lead or whatever you're trying to get. And what I normally do is at least at the beginning to control costs, I will let my campaigns tell me when I can raise the budget. And on the ones that say limited by budget, I raise the daily budget to the recommended amount that it recommends there. And I'll do that until, basically my ROI is drilled in already. And then once that happens, I'm just going to raise the daily budget on all the campaigns to unlimit any potential opportunities with those campaigns that I could get that I'm not getting already. Just to let you know the typical process I go through. If you're already getting the ROI you want, why have them unlimited? Now, that said, ultimately, if you want to be a little bit more cautious, you could wait a bit more time and wait for Google to say the campaign's limited and then just raise the budget on those campaigns. And that'll be the extra safe way to maintain a certain ROI or cost per lead. If you want to scale quicker though, instead of waiting for Google to say limited by budget, raise the budget on this campaign, a few days later, limited by budget on this one, raise the budget on this campaign. You could go ahead and just raise the daily budget on all the campaigns to a ridiculously high amount, and Google's really going to take off all the restrictions on your campaigns at that time. So I don't want to say in every case I just raise the daily budget to an unlimited amount right away like that. I don't. It depends on the client, how touchy they are about the performance of the campaign. Do you want to scale, is scaling quicker the priority, or is maintaining a certain ROI the priority? If we want to scale quickly, the answer is simple. You raise the daily budget on all the campaigns way above what they're spending already, and that'll remove any restrictions and probably maintain the same cost per conversion you have if you're already using smart bidding. There's still a risk that it won't, but for the most part, it will maintain the cost per conversion itself if you got the smart bidding on there and just unlock more impressions and more sales. Where if you went over the actual cost per lead that is profitable, you're at the razor's edge of what is profitable and not profitable, then in that case, instead of just raising the daily budget and risk, going unprofitable for a week or a month, you would just wait for the campaigns to show limited by budget and then raise the budget on the campaigns that show that when it shows it one at a time, like I mentioned before. So do you have to absolutely make sure you maintain the performance you have now and not have it vary at all? Wait for the campaigns to show limited by budget. If not, just raise them all to way above the daily budget that you have now, like $1,000 a day or similar. Anyway, before I get into this case study here, I just also want to say, if you're not always sure what to do, I have a lot of people reaching out to me who watch this channel who basically all they do is they reach out to me and they say, hey, I'm looking to make XYZ change. I want to know if I should make it before I make it. And I can let them know, hey, that'll send your campaign into learning mode. This will happen. Or, Corey, why are my campaigns not growing? And then I'll ask them about their pricing strategy. strategy and the lead handling process and all this. And I'll tell them where the bottleneck is that's stopping their ads from scaling anymore. If you're interested in that, you can always reach out to me at my firm at guaranteedppc.com, and I can do a coaching session with you. And in 30 minutes, I can get you an answer to a question like that. And instead of banging your head against the wall trying to figure it out, you can ask somebody with 20 years of ad experience, give you the answer that you would need right away. Or, maybe we decide to work together. Ultimately, we take on a few clients here at our agency, and then with that, we offer a performance guarantee if we agree to work with them. And that is, we'll get a certain minimum lift in your profitability of your ads up front in excess of the fees that we charge before we charge a fee. So we're basically paying ourselves out of the increase in profit that we bring that client that we agree to work with up front. And we manage all your ads ourselves, and all the ads, the landing pages, the tracking, everything you need to get those results, as long as you're willing to pay our monthly fee once we get you the minimum lift. If you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com and ask about it. We're taking clients on for that. We also sell ad templates. If we've already worked in your niche market before, it'd be silly to try to figure out all the same stuff we had to figure out when you could get our ad template that you could copy paste into your ad account and get the same results we're getting with none of the work, none of the money, none of the time it takes to figure out what we had to figure out in your market. And we can tell you that not only the ads, but the landing pages, the campaign template, all of it that you need to get results in that market. And we can tell you the results, what you're going to get with it up front. So if you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at my firm at guaranteedppc.com. These templates are so powerful that, people use them to start holding their businesses up from scratch. Then they'll drop ship, or they'll sell leads, or they'll just start doing the business. I mean, ultimately, the hardest part in most businesses to get something to work is getting the ad campaign to work. And which is why you have to pay an ad agency a lot of money, because anybody who knows what they're doing, that's the hardest part of any business to get to work, unless you're doing a game-changing technology or something. But these templates are very, very powerful, and we've got 100 plus different niche markets that we have templates available. So if you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. With the case study here, we had a restoration services company, which this is where, like, if your house gets flooded, somebody comes to fix that damage, or if your house started on fire or whatever, and the like. Okay. Now in this market, the cost per click in this market's super high. Even if you've been running your campaigns for a while, the cost per click's still going to be $30 a click or something like this. Some people pay $50 to $100 a click, depending, how good of an advertiser they are. Anyway, we were paying about $30 a click with this particular client at this particular time. We had been running the campaigns for about 6 months at the particular time of working with this client. And this was a client where we've worked with hundreds of clients. Sometimes, like I mentioned earlier in the video, people that we work with, they say, no, you're not going to set the daily budget higher than what I can spend. And they force us to have a lower daily budget on the campaigns than we would like. And with the ideal situation being we uncap the daily budget and make it like 30 times higher than what we're spending, so that the campaign will really run unlimited, so to say, or as unlimited as possible, to where that part of the algorithm that tries to keep the budget in check is gone. So, which is why you get more clicks from it, like I mentioned earlier. With that said, if a campaign shows the limited by budget, we would raise the budget in that particular case. So all the campaigns weren't saying limited by budget, to clarify that up front. But all the campaigns were set to $30 a day in terms of the daily budget and not higher. Okay. Now, what do you think happened when we switched the campaigns to $1,000 a day, just to unlimit the campaigns in case they were limited at all and being restricted by the part of the algorithm that runs the ads that tries to keep budgets in check? In this particular case, because it was a fairly new account, our clicks over the next 90 days went up 63%, which, if you're wondering how much they were going up already, they were going up 5 to 10% a month at that point in time, because our target cost per lead was fairly conservative, and we've already had 6 months to scale up and break in the campaigns already. So they're going to keep going up. They're not going to go up 60% in a month. And now this was over a 90-day period, so it really went up 60% over a 3-month period. So the baseline, it was going up, 15 to 30%. And with unlimiting the budget, it went up over 60%. So it more than doubled, really, technically, the amount of increase in clicks our campaigns were accumulating from, that it was normally getting and accumulating from being that the campaigns were getting more broken in, getting more proven with the algorithm. The algorithm sees our ads and landing pages are better than the competition, therefore giving us more impressions. And this was just the icing on the cake, unlimiting the campaigns. And if you're wondering, well, why did the client say that I do not want you to put $1,000 a day per campaign, and you convinced them otherwise? Well, naturally, it's funny because people like to do things and I say, hey, that's not the best way. And then sometimes they really just push the subject and will compromise and just not do it for a while. But then what I do, funny enough, is the next time they bitch and complain about the results, I say, hey, look, you were the one who said, don't do this. You're now saying the results aren't very good. So this is your fault, not mine. Until you do things my way, you can't complain about the results anymore, okay? Or at least as much as what you would want. Now, that may sound like a dickhead move to do, but it's the reality. I'm not here to tell people what they want to hear or be someone's friend. I'm here to get them results. And if you don't want results, there's plenty of other agencies that'll pull your chain and not do for you and just listen to everything you have to say. In that particular case, we convinced them to raise the daily budget. Telling them we'll be very careful. We'll watch your impressions. We'll make sure it doesn't really spend what it says it's going to spend. And everything will be okay at the end of the day. We'll just get more impressions and more sales. And that's what we did, and that's what we got. There you go. That tells you how effective this can be. Now, not to say this is going to be your standard way, or standard increase in clicks you're going to get once you do this. Just know the higher the cost per click market you're in, and the newer your campaigns are, the bigger effect you're going to have unlimiting your campaigns. And the biggest effect, my suggestion is going to be to have the daily budget 30 times what your daily spend is averaging right now. So if your campaigns are spending $10 a day now, you want to do $300 a day. If they're spending $100 a day, make it $3,000 a day. Just take it times the daily spend of that campaign times 30. That's your daily budget to totally uncap it. And that sounds extreme or wild or whatever, but trust me, it works and you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck and for that matter, there's not a drawback to doing it. But if you just want the most effect from the strategy, you're going to want to do a 30x change. Not a 3x change, but 30x. Just trust me on that. So with that said, that goes over the strategy here in general. Go ahead and give it a try for yourself. Watch your campaigns when you make the change. It's probably not going to spend a lot right away. You'll notice the change over the next 90 days like we had in our case study here. There's no reason that if you're not getting the ROI that you want and you're bitching and moaning and complaining that you're not getting more impressions from Google, not to do this. Because this is the number one easiest freaking strategy in the world to do when you're not getting the impressions you want and you're already making money with your campaign. And your problem right now is just ability to scale. If you're not doing this, you don't have any room to complain because this is the easiest thing you can do. With that said, I'm going to wrap it up with that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said impressions was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.